Have you ever been told a fact that blew your mind? Something that made you go, poof, mind blown. And right after you actually combusted? Of course not. Because you're here right now after being told this mind-blowing fact. But what if I told you that human combustion can happen? Hello, my name is Steph, and welcome to the Muy Hidden podcast, where we take a deeper dive into the hidden, the myths, and the unexplained. Today, I have someone here with me.
Hello.
That's Danny. So he's off camera today.
Yeah, we don't have a camera yet. So,
No, we don't.
but we will.
Yes. So, are you ready?
Yeah.
I'm going to give you the Wikipedia definition because I think they perfectly summed it up.
Okay.
So, quote, spontaneous human combustion is the pseudo-scientific concept of the combustion of a living human body without an apparent external source of ignition, unquote.
I have heard about this before.
Yeah, have you?
Yes.
Okay, so there needs to be a spark, right? An ignition.
Okay.
Because fires can't start on their own. And for over centuries, scientists have been trying to figure out what is the root of this phenomena. The problem there is that if something started it, a match, a cigarette, a lamp, anything, right? The evidence is going to get destroyed in the fire.
Very true.
Mm-hmm. Now, without us getting really into it,
yeah.
Do you believe that humans can spontaneously combust?
Yeah, I think, unfortunately, I saw some YouTube videos where stuff like that happened. So I think that's very true, that you could probably do that, but it's weird.
It is.
Yeah.
It really is. So, I couldn't pinpoint the first ever case because some sources say that the first case came in the late 1400s, where a knight named Polinius Vorstis, my bad, allegedly burst into flames in front of his own parents. Right? So other sources say that the idea and the term was first proposed in 1746 by Paul Rowley after observing a mysterious death of a countess, Cornelia Sanghiri Bundy. Okay? The countess was known to be a heavy drinker. Her favorite was brandy.
Mm-hmm.
She would even sprinkle brandy all over her body aches, right? Like vaporu.
So it's alcohol.
Yeah. Okay. So you kind of see where I'm going? Okay. So after a late supper, her maid accompanied her to bed, where they talked for a few hours, and then called it a night. In the morning, the maid noticed Cornelia hadn't gotten up at her usual time, right? So she went to her room to check up on her, the maid too, Cornelia. And there she discovered a horrifying scene.
He was on fire.
Worse.
It was after the fire.
It was after the fire. Oh my God. So I'm actually going to read to you what Paul Rowley wrote about this scene.
Okay.
And a little warning here. It gets a little graphic. Yes. I mean, we're talking about human combustion. Like it might get a little graphic.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to read it verbatim. Quote, 4 feet distance from the bed, there was a heap of ashes. 2 legs untouched from the foot to the knee with their stockings on. Between them was the lady's head, whose brains, half of the back part of the skull, and the whole chin were burnt to ashes.
And the whole chin?
The whole chin, not half, the whole.
Okay. Wow.
Amongst which were found 3 fingers blackened. Okay. All the rest was ashes, which had this particular quality that they left in the hand when taken up a greasy and stinking moisture. The ashes. We're talking about the ashes.
Yeah.
So the bed received no damage. The blankets and the sheets were only raised on one side.
raised
as
bed.
when a bed rises up from it or goes in it. So if this is a countess, we're assuming that her bed is like perfectly made all the time. Okay. The whole furniture as well as the bed was spread over with moist and ash color soot. Now, soot is a black powdery or flaky substance consisting largely of amorphous carbon or the incomplete burning of organic matter. So it could be humans.
Oh, snap.
Yeah, I had to Google that because I was like, what's soot?
So is it gooey?
It is greasy and moist.
Okay.
All over the majority of the room, right?
Like plasm.
I guess.
Okay.
I
don't know what that is, but it's chick jelly. I don't know.
I should have looked up what it looks like. I just looked up the definition. But this soot had also penetrated part of the neighboring kitchen. Right? So I'm just going to read it verbatim.
Yeah.
Also gone into the neighboring kitchen and hung on the walls, movables, and utensils of it. And with something that is a little side note, that they had dogs and they refused to go near this soot. This soot also landed on some food, which, again, the dogs refused to eat.
Oh.
Yeah. So there has been over 200 cases of this phenomenon. And something that should be noted is that majority of the victim's limbs, such as the feet or the hands, often remain intact.
So they burn from the inside out, and they dried up before they got to the tips, like the legs and the fingers.
It burns out.
What?
Yeah, and it's
maybe it's heartburn. It just blows up. Okay, sorry.
An extreme case of heartburn. And you know what's it's gross because most of the cases they claim that the burning often does begin around the chest or the stomach area. Yeah, it's crazy. The bodies often leave a residue of the greasy or the fetish ashes, the soot that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
And it is said that they have like a very putrid odor, which I'm assuming is
burnt flesh.
It's burnt flesh. Like, what do you?
Man.
So, some even claim that their clothing, their surroundings, their furniture, even the ground underneath the victims, remain mysteriously unburned. So, not all cases, but some of them. Just like the one we just found out about the Countess.
Wow.
That's crazy. And again, the Countess, they found her stockings still intact.
So the surroundings doesn't burn. So they might be just running around in circles while they burn.
No. So something that I should note is that a lot of scientists believe that before the actual combustion, that the victims died.
Oh,
so they are not So they're not alive as it happens.
As they're burning.
But it is a theory. Right?
Yeah.
And something that also should be noted is a common trait these cases have is that the victims are chronic alcoholics.
Oh.
Okay, so I felt like I really had to like shine a light on it for the Countess.
So they have a belly full of alcohol.
Ooh, I mean,
and then they burn from the inside out. I don't know. Spark.
It's a little sus, but I mean, the topic in itself is a very yeah, and it's one of those that's like, well, we don't even know. I mean, there's evidence. Again, if you want to go on that side of the internet, there is pictures.
Yeah, I do not recommend.
I do not recommend. No, just we can talk about this, but you ain't gotta see it.
Yeah.
Yes. So I am gonna talk about the wick theory.
Okay.
Which is one of the more popular ones. Now, the wick effect is when a body functions like a candle.
Okay.
Again, a little warning because it is going to get a little graphic and disturbing. So, a candle, right? Think of the fuel to be perceived as the alcohol in their system or on them, right?
Yeah.
The wick of the candle, right? It could be clothes, hair, items that are easily flammable. The spark to ignite the fire could be anything. An oil lamp, an open flame, a cigarette, anything. And the wax, the wax to keep the flame going would be the human body fat.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, unfortunately, it does make sense. Now I'm going to go a little bit more into this. The human body fat will provide a continuous supply that will keep the fire going at a high temperature but slow rate. So that is the theory. The body will act as a candle.
It burns slowly?
Mm-hmm. But at a high temperature.
So when they find the body, it gets waxy like a candle wax?
No, when they find the body, it's nothing but ashes.
Oh, nothing but ashes? Oh.
No, but that's the wax. Sorry, I was a bit the wax theory. That's the wick theory.
The wick theory.
That the body's going to function like a candle. I guess that's the best way that they can explain it.
Okay.
But it's not waxy. It's not like a candle at all. Like at the end, it's nothing but ashes, you know? And I mean, I know what you're thinking. The human's body is like 50-60% water, right? So it shouldn't be easily flammable. But once the body is caught on fire, it could just keep going. Now, there was an experiment done in 1998 by Dr. John DeHaan of the California Criminalistic Institute. A little warning here.
Another one.
Yes. Where he used a dead pig wrapped in a blanket and put a little bit of petrol on it.
Pigs in the blanket?
Oh, my Jesus.
Sorry, I don't know why I thought about that. Okay, sorry.
Oh my God, a little bit of roast pig, anybody? But after 5 hours of burning, only the ashes remained. Okay?
Okay.
No bones, no nothing. And I'm not sure if like the limbs remained because I'm not sure, like that information wasn't available, but it burns through, right? So this gruesome experiment did show that the wick effect is possible. Again, it took 5 hours for it to
slowly burn.
The small flames can consume a human being with the help of burning body fat. Okay, and something to keep in mind. Okay, even though some of the victims' limbs had fallen off, right, everything else was turned into ashes. The parts of the body that were engulfed in the fire, including the bones, were turned into ashes. Bones into ashes. Just think about that. How hot these flames have to be.
To burn the bone?
And during cremation,
True.
The chamber can reach up to 1,800 degrees in Fahrenheit, right? And even then, sometimes, bones or teeth remain intact afterwards when they pull it out. Yeah. So we know that the wick effect doesn't burn fast, right? It is high temperatures for a long time. And we know that Dr. Hahn's experiment was successful. There were many other experiments done like it afterwards. But there were some cases that still couldn't be explained. So I'm going to talk about one case. In 1964, firefighters and paramedics were called over to the residence of Helen Conway. She was an elderly woman, overweight, and she was known to be a smoker. Yeah.
Okay.
The firefighters and paramedics took roughly about 21 minutes to arrive, okay? And by the time they did, they found remains of Conway in an upholstered chair at the corner of her bedroom. Now, the wick effect doesn't burn fast, right?
Right.
But maybe due to the fat to muscle ratio, she could have burned a lot faster, right? But this case, it remains a mystery. The wick effect doesn't make sense in this case. And
so they found her?
Well, yeah, they found her. They believed it was another case of spontaneous human combustion.
Wow.
Yeah. So right here, that wick theory that we talked about earlier, it just doesn't fit. The math thing here, you know?
But they concluded that it's spontaneous combustion.
Yes. Well, I believe in papers.
They try to make it look interesting, maybe?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Like in the papers, I believe the mortician.
I think so, yeah.
Not mortician.
Yeah.
I believe he wrote it down as like, what's the word? Not undecided.
Indecisive?
Indecisive?
They couldn't
no, because a lot of people don't believe that a human body can just combust, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But
she was a smoker.
Yeah, but they also couldn't conclude that the cigarette lit her on fire. They do believe that she probably died of a heart attack.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that was her. Again, that people died before they actually quote combust unquote. Yeah. And I'm actually gonna bring up another theory because I couldn't really find many theories that made sense, but I thought I'd throw one in there just for funsies. So, John E. Hamer, he wrote a book back in 1996 called The Entrancing Flame. That the book goes into a deep dive to the spontaneous human combustion. I'm just going to say SHC. Hamer is an expert in the field, has gathered case studies from around the world and eyewitness accounts to try and explain the mystery. But not only has he gathered evidence on those who have lost their lives, but also invaluable evidence of those who have survived, supplemented by extraordinary eyewitness accounts.
Okay.
Yeah. You take that as you will, okay?
Yeah.
So I actually haven't read this book. I only know about the theory he has suggested.
Mm-hmm. Which is?
Okay, so the theory is that it was perfectly summarized by this article, so I'm just going to quote it. Ironically, the title of the article is called Burn Baby Burn. And it is in the Scientific American website. Quote, his hypothesis that SHC victims are loners who fall into a strange kind of trance that triggers a chain reaction of mitochondrial explosions by freeing hydrogen and oxygen within the body. The hypothesis might make sense if hydrogen and oxygen actually existed in gas form inside the mitochondrial cell, but they don't. And a good thing too, because otherwise the very act of inhaling could cause a spontaneous ignition.
Oh, okay.
Now, I don't know much about science.
Right.
I did research what mitochondria does. I feel like a lot of people remembered that it is just the powerhouse of the cell.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the powerhouse.
Yeah. So, personally, I think the Wick effect, the Wick theory, makes the most rational sense. But at the end of the day, it still remains unsolved and it remains a mystery. And hopefully scientists will figure it out. But until then,
guess we'll see who's the next person
to literally
to literally just catch flame.
Yeah. So what do you think of the Wick theory?
It's
pretty morbid.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, alcoholics.
I don't know.
Slow burn. I don't know.
It does make kind of sense. It's
yeah.
It's a terrifying. I feel like it's a new fear unlocked out of the blue. If you're not being careful and you're near alcohol, that if your body catches flames, it can continue to just burn. Yeah, until you're nothing but a pile of ashes. Maybe your feet will stay left behind, but it's still
your
terrifying.
Fingers.
Or your fingers. But it's still.
Your fingers.
Yeah, it's terrifying. It's a terrifying dot, and it's a horrible way to die, I think.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, you kind of don't feel it, right? You just bloop, knock out, and then burn.
Yeah, again, people theorize that the victims die before they actually combust.
Yeah, it would suck if they were alive.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that would really suck. And something that I was thinking about, and this is just me, just kind of thinking about it, like, what if, and I'm not a scientist, I'm not an expert in this, I am nothing. I'm just saying this for funsies. But I often wonder when people say that you see, for example, angels, right? Or something from another dimension that your body and your mind cannot react to it because they're not even sure what they're looking at, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what if, and again, for funsies, but what if, hypothetically, they saw something unexplainable that they weren't supposed to see, and
the universe was just like, you can't see that.
It's too much for you.
And they just
poof.
Dang. It's possible.
Or aliens. It could also be aliens.
A ray gun?
A ray gun, exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know. If you guys or if anyone comes across another theory about this, please send it my way, because I am just fascinated by all this stuff. And obviously, like any other person, we want a logical reason for stuff like this happening, for this phenomena happening. And at least from what I've gathered, there isn't one. Yeah. So until next time, bye.
Have a good one.
Have a good one.